it's me. That's why it's shaking. Hey, everybody. Welcome back. If I look a little bit older, it's because we've been gone a while. Johnny Torres, this is the Yard Sign. Hope you're all doing great. I do want to just start off so we can kind of get the more emotional stuff out of the way. But I do want to dedicate our first show back to my dad, who passed away a month ago, and today happens to be his birthday. And so that was part of the motivation for doing this. He was always incredibly supportive and proud of my involvement in politics, and a proud American, and of course the pioneer, as I called him, but the first of my family to come to the United States, and obviously give us the blessing that is to be an American. And so I dedicate the show to him, and then obviously it goes I'm sure it goes unsaid, that he never truly leaves you. Your dad never truly leaves you emotionally, and so I wanted to celebrate him by doing the show today, rather than maybe sitting at home kind of drowning in my feelings over the whole situation. But welcome back to the Yard Sign, everybody. Sorry we've been away for so long. As you could tell, life is happening. We've also been changing a lot to the studio, as you can see, but we certainly did not hold back for our first show back. We are chock full of topics and guests, and so we're going to get to all of that in just a little bit. Let's start off by running through tonight's topics. Governor Ron DeSantis, of course, has a lot going on. He'll probably be the bulk of tonight's show, just between what's happening in the legislature and his campaign. So that's going to be a fun topic, especially with tonight's guest. Ukraine, man, we probably could not have come back at a better time or at a worse time, depending on how you want to look at it, as Russia and Ukraine seem to have escalated the situation. And we'll get into the details of that in just a bit. Also, school book bans, of course, a hot topic among, just really the culture war happening in public education, especially here in Florida. We'll dissect that with two guys who I think are also just going to have great insight and very different perspectives on the issue. We'll unfortunately have to touch on the royal coronation, thanks to colonialist Aníbal David Cabrera, who is going to touch on his favorite subject, which is the royals. We'll also touch on Met Gala, because I don't know. I have no idea. I just said okay. So let's go ahead and get into tonight's guests. Right here to my left, but not necessarily politically, is our good friend Greg Doss. How are you, sir?
I guess I'm all right. That remains to be seen, but it's always an honor to join you and Aníbal and now Mr. Scott.
Well, and thank you for your service, as always. And
the honor was mine. And
I can't wait to hear your insight on everything going on today. And over here, joining across from me, of course, as always, is Mr. Aníbal David Cabrera. Hello, sir.
Hello. What camera am I? Okay, I'm here.
Yep, there we go.
It has been some time, and it's been. We needed a break.
Yeah. I think we did the show, like 3 years straight?
3 years straight, and we need to, after the election was over, we needed time off.
Yeah, and again, it's actually given me time to focus on some other projects. We've also have had the opportunity to, again, make some changes here in the studio, make some upgrades technologically to the studio, which aren't visible, but again, it certainly helped us eliminate some of the technical things challenges we were having. And again, try a different format, different setup, always a work in progress, as I like to say, as a creative individual. And over here, joining us back on the show, and it is also no stranger to the show, Mr. Donn Scott. How are you, sir?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Thanks for having me back on.
Yeah, so we've got an exciting event coming up, and I'm glad we didn't. I'm glad we didn't do this earlier, because then we'd have to kind of walk back the original plans. But you've so graciously invited me to join a panel for an event that you're putting on regarding free speech. Why don't you, real quick, let's talk about that.
Sure, great. Thanks for. Freedom of speech is very important should be very important to all of us. Mm-hmm. And I reached out to you and a couple other thought leaders in the area about this forum on criminal justice, forum on freedom of speech. I'm sorry, I'm doing a lot of social justice events.
Which actually, last time you were in the studio, it was doing the forum on criminal justice.
Right, which was Senator Jeff Brandis at
That's
the
right.
time.
Yeah.
So we were supposed to do it this past weekend. Things didn't quite work out. I also had a death in my family last week, which also prevented some of the things from taking place. So also, let me start off by saying my condolences to you and for your
Thank you, my friend.
And you're right. They don't leave you.
Yeah.
They don't. But yes, so May 27th, Forum on Freedom of Speech. We will be at Tampa Preparatory School, a.k.a. Tampa Prep.
Yep.
For the event, we have a lot of great speakers. Tickets will go on sale on Monday.
Good.
So get your tickets in advance. If you know somebody who's selling tickets, selling bootleg tickets, let me know.
And where can they get the tickets?
Online at Eventbrite. It's
Eventbrite. Got it.
Right.
Okay.
The link's not up yet.
Okay.
But the link will be up Sunday at 12 midnight.
So this Sunday, Eventbrite, and then just have them search freedom of speech.
The forum on freedom of speech.
The forum on freedom of speech.
Correct.
Yeah. And you're going to have some incredible people on, some local journalists, topic experts,
local journalists, local attorneys, yourself. It's going to be a great time.
Yeah.
And what I really want to do is we want to create the conversation, such that it's just not. Not only that, but there's people that have questions. Like what is freedom of speech?
Right.
What is slander? And if DOS says something crazy on social media, is that freedom of speech?
Yeah.
So we just want to have a community conversation and kind of educate people on what is freedom of speech, what isn't freedom of speech.
Well, and I had a conversation about this recently where, everybody loves freedom of speech, but, until you get to that but. And so I'm sure it's that's going to be a deep, deep conversation, and I'm looking forward to it. We may even be posting videos from it.
Right. Falkenberg Productions is our title sponsor and partner.
Now, we're not going to broadcast it live because we want people to buy tickets and show up.
But after tickets are bought, you might show it later down the line.
That's right.
Snippets here and there. Yeah. But thank you so much for your involvement. Really look for your participation.
No, it's going to be a great conversation. And again, much like there's the reason for doing this show, we need to have more of these types of dialogues where we can have a cordial, respectable conversation on the topic, and it's not people screaming at each other, whether it be on the street or in a news studio.
Correct.
And so, I'm looking forward to it. Let's go ahead and start, though, tonight's show with our first topic. Let's see if I can do it here. I'm running the show from the there we go, from way across, way across the room.
We miss you.
I know, our producer. Hang on, here it is. No, that's not it. There we go. Governor Ron DeSantis is our topic, our first topic for tonight's show. Of course, I want to start off the conversation in talking about. Let's first talk about the elephant in the room, literally, which is the campaign for 24. I think because. Because
exactly. What
did you hear something? I didn't hear anything.
Well, so his expected campaign,
allegedly,
or alleged campaign for 2024. It's and so obviously there's still plenty of time for him to not get in the race. All indication, though, given the book release, given the travel to Europe, and of course a lot of his legislative priorities all indicate that he's most likely going to run. And
allegedly.
No, but you said legislative priorities. You mean like letting South Florida flood?
No, look, and we'll get into that.
Okay.
I mean, but yeah, I mean, you're talking about the fact that he's obviously made this whole fight with Disney, a kind of cornerstone of, what he's doing this year. Obviously, we saw the parental rights bill that pass, and that's a huge piece of legislation that really has helped him cross the aisle in a lot of ways, because I think it's one of those issues where once you start talking about people's kids, that's where people's politics go out the door most of the time.
Yeah, Here's what I would say, Johnny. I was in Philly over the weekend, and I will tell you personally, as someone who lives here in Florida, I saw maybe 3 commercials about the governor that I've never seen before. So,
positive or negative?
It depends on what side of the aisle you're on. I can tell you this: Democrats up north are scared to death right now
of him winning.
So they were negative.
They were negative if you're a Democrat, positive if you're a Republican. That's what I would say.
What did you? What did your?
You're gonna have to send us a link to that one.
And so you're talking about in Philadelphia.
Philadelphia market, Philadelphia TV market. That's what I would say.
So I'm trying to think
actually,
who.
To the point that when I sit down with family members, I was almost interrogated. Like, okay, what is going on?
What's the deal with him?
Yeah, what is going on down there?
Well, look, it's at most, and again, unfortunately, we don't have produced. Maybe you could pull it up in Evil if you want to pull up 538 and take a look at the poll numbers, because there are.
I was about to say. So I remember the poll numbers from that night. Actually, Trump lost Pennsylvania by 30,000 votes. So putting ads into a market that we lost by only 30,000 votes is a pretty big deal. Meaning that there are conservatives out there that are pushing for the fact they want Biden, they want Ron DeSantis as the president, and that would be a battleground state to fight in for the Republicans in that state.
Well, and currently you have a large number of polls showing that Biden would lose to DeSantis.
You are correct.
And so it's just basically they're playing defense. They're playing an early defense because, again, it's almost inevitable. And look, and I'll encapsulate my macro point on whether or not he's going to run is that the current polling that show him at 20%, some say 15%, and dropping in some cases, is still way too early.
Way too early.
I mean, because we have the 2008 election to look at where Barack Obama was unknown.
Nobody.
Polling single digits. And he was able to come back and beat Hillary Clinton in the primary.
But he has something that Ron DeSantis doesn't have, and I'm not saying that because, my impending temporary restraining order. But anyway, he was charismatic where Ron DeSantis absolutely is not. The only benefit that Ron DeSantis would have is that he would be debating against a Joe Biden who is,
if he was still alive,
lethargic.
If they'll let him debate.
So I will,
and that's the thing.
Agree.
Democrats are going to try. But Democrats are going to try to run this basement campaign one more time. They're already saying that he's not going to agree to debates in the Democratic primary, and they're probably going to do the same in the general. He cannot win another election by sitting in the basement.
I don't think you can.
Speculation. I think, but we're talking about personality. Who would be from a national perspective? We're not talking about trying to win a race here in Florida. We're talking about winning nationally with the other baggage that he brings. It's easier to paint a bad picture of
I think putting DeSantis side by side with Biden, DeSantis wins easily.
I don't think so.
I think he represents youth. He represents the next generation of this country. And again, everybody knows that
he doesn't represent
mentally
the next generation of this country. That's what the problem is going to be.
I mean in terms of youth.
I see where you're going with that, but again,
you can't attack education. You can't attack growth. And what's actually happening?
But he hasn't attacked education.
No,
that's
what's going to be painted. And
if anything, he's expanded educational opportunity.
And I guess that's my point too, Johnny. So
and that's what he's going to run on.
The things that we see here in the Florida in Tallahassee, right? They are. How do I want to say this? It's on a much larger scale. When they spin it, it's on a much larger scale when it comes to messaging on the
national level.
I'll say this. I think as a Floridian, we see Ron DeSantis with rose-colored glasses.
Absolutely.
And there will be a misunderstanding when it comes to what my friends in Colorado or friends in California or friends in D.C. look at Florida and look at the governor. Now, as a Floridian, I like a lot of what the governor's been doing. I'm not crazy about everything. I think a fight with Disney is stupid. I think that's just a waste of time. I think a lot of the social issues are stupid. We should be talking about other things. And that's what's going to bar down the governor when it comes to opening up into a national campaign with a lot of these conversations that, like, are we really having these conversations of the 90s again when we're trying to move forward? Whereas the Trump campaign is probably going to run around with the DeSantis campaign in regards to, you guys are talking about gay marriage and blah, 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 and drag queens. I could care less about, like, he's going to pick the other side of that. And that's going to
yeah, but that can backfire on him in the primary.
But it won't.
Let me ask you this, though.
If the Trump is going to get...
You don't think the Bud Light thing, if Trump taking the side of Bud Light, which now we know that Anheuser-Busch has been donating money to the Trump campaign, you don't think that's going to backfire on him in the primary?
I think Joe Rogan had a perfect position when it came to that. Like, I get why this was a really bad form of advertising, but you're not going to get rid of.
Why are y'all forgetting what Trump's effect is on your party? You act as if simply because DeSantis wins even if he wins the primary and he runs against Joe Biden, President Biden, you forget how much animosity or resentment or a grudge that the Trump voters would have.
Trump only lost the presidency by maybe 50,000 votes.
No, that's
Pennsylvania and Georgia.
He only won it by that. He won it by less than that. Actually,
he lost 2020 by maybe 50,000 votes.
No, Anibal, what you're forgetting is you act as if every Trump voter is going to vote for Ron DeSantis versus staying home.
So what I'm saying is this. I would like there to be a DeSantis presidency.
But that's why DeSantis is doing these things, like,
I don't think he's going to win the primary.
like the drag queen bills, doing this stuff like the school choice,
he's going to offset,
keeping up the fight with
voters. You think he's going to offset another set of voters, or split, or try to middle a set of voters?
I think he can win the Trump vote. I think he can absolutely win the Trump vote.
If Trump is running, he will not win the Trump vote.
Unless Trump gets
maybe not all of it, but they're not all going to stay home.
But they're not all going to go for Biden.
Dude, but I don't know how he's the math guy over there. Listen, if you eliminate 10%, you're blown out.
Trump has about 30-something percent.
Strong 35% of
No, Don. If you take out if even 10% of people who are on
your
pure
side
MAGA,
and just don't
pure
vote.
MAGA voters and don't vote,
it'll be a wipeout.
And I can see that happening, and so can Mr. Don over there, and that's why I'm like, you can't take.
I have to agree with your position. I think it's more likely that a Trump supporter will not vote for Ron DeSantis than a Ron DeSantis voter not voting for Trump, because odds are they didn't vote for him the first time.
No,
if they're like 100%,
can't beat Biden at all, so we can forget that.
I think Trump can. I think any Republican can beat Biden right now.
I think the true state
you run
of
the
Biden's
same campaign, it's a nightmare.
I think that look, what we have to admit the obvious is that coronavirus helped Joe Biden win the election. If Joe Biden had to
Donald Trump's handling of the coronavirus is what won.
How else would you want him to handle it?
No, because Biden would not have been able to.
Had he just stuck to the economy, he wins hands down.
Biden would not have been able. Well, on previous episode we dissected. Trump ran on zero accomplishments. Mm-hmm. He did not run on any of his accomplishments, and that's what
absolute uninformed.
And he ran on negative
voting population.
He ran a negative campaign when he could have run a positive campaign on everything he accomplished.
Thought he could run 16 again, and he did not. He did not learn from those mistakes, and which is why he lost the 2020. Biden cannot run a 2020 campaign in 2024. No.
But
the environment is completely different.
But Joe Biden can also run on what he's done for infrastructure. If the Democrats fought as hard to win as a Republican, if he just spoke to the facts, your economy.
You can't talk about infrastructure when we're about to head into a recession.
Yeah, but the recession is something that's a spillover. The recession is coming anyway.
People are still pissed about the recession.
Yeah, but
the same way they were pissed about the president in 2020, and they made Trump
the Fed's continuing to raise the rates.
Well, the 0.025.
Well, I don't disagree. I don't disagree with
that was needed. That was needed. But
are we gonna agree?
What we're going to do is try to say, well, everybody's uninformed, and on the other side, no, I agree with that. But on the other side, the reality is, if he just spoke to just speak to the facts, and for some reason we already know how most
But he's
Republicans feel
not.
about facts.
But this is the
Democrats are
point.
not fighting that position.
This is the point is that Biden can't hide in the basement this time around.
No, and
He
won't need
physically and mentally is not going to be capable of running a full-blown presidential campaign,
People
and
are
Trump will.
comfortable. People are going to be comfortable with what he is,
Not after a recession.
but
and not after a couple of indictments either.
okay, but you call it the
Allegedly.
basement campaign.
The indictments are coming.
But it was
Allegedly.
it was a way of running a campaign that could be
Effective.
really social distanced at the time, right?
Right, but the thing is, it's not even just about his campaign. It was about the fact that also pretty much every state and county in this country had to amend their electioneering rules to accommodate for COVID, and that also swung the numbers.
If Republicans didn't vote under the same conditions, it's almost like saying we played a football game on a different field at the same time. It doesn't
Democrats
work
again, and they figured out how to change the
You're
rules.
going to lose a president. You better focus on the House and the Senate.
No, they figured out how to win under the new set of rules because most of them are Democrats who changed the rules to favor themselves.
Where?
All across the country.
Wait a
all the
minute.
mail-in ballots, the ballot harvesting,
Harvesting, my God, that was pretty strong. Listen,
What are you talking about? It's factual.
Name
there's-
a state. No, name a state that was run. Name the states that were run by Republican-led governors that affected Joe Biden positively.
Georgia.
No, Georgia actually has more Democrats anyway. People don't know.
No. You're not asking that. You asked the question.
Yeah.
States that are run by
But it
Republicans.
didn't affect him
affected
positively.
Joe Biden positively.
No, he
won the
won.
state. It
That has
affected
nothing-
positively.
No, that doesn't have anything to do with who was in charge.
Arizona is a Republican run
But he
state.
won the state.
Yes, that is a positive for
That's-
Joe Biden.
No, listen.
Dude, we're answering your question.
He answered the question.
No. The people who run, what did they do that affected him positively?
So
the fact that the
in
electorate voted for him.
Oh no,
Pennsylvania,
they didn't do anything.
That's my point.
You know, they
Pennsylvania-
But I'm not talking about the governors. I'm talking about
I
the
said-
supervisors of elections.
What
Are
supervisor?
you saying that people found more votes to be able to win that particular area for Joe Biden?
No, my point is this: he won because he actually won the election. And
I'm not saying he didn't
No
win
one
the
is
election.
fighting
We're
the
not
fact
saying he
that-
didn't. We're not saying he didn't win the
you
election.
act as if
What
they
we're
had to do
saying is
something
that
special
when
for
they
him to win.
changed the
Do you
rules,
think that there was
the Democrats
nothing
were.
different of the 2020 election? You think there was nothing different?
I think he won because your candidate did a bad
think?
job.
They changed all the rules.
You're not asking. You're not asking.
Your candidate did a bad
the
job
rules-
running an election.
The rules changed in 2020 because of COVID.
Yeah.
Yes.
we all have
Okay,
to
but
acknowledge that.
That's a fact.
who
Hold on,
didn't
hold
handle
on.
who
Why
mishandled
can't you answer?
COVID?
Why can't you say yes to
Oh, I
that?
know what he's going to say.
All I'm saying is, this time around, he can't play that game.
Correct.
That's right.
Right.
That's what I'm saying.
He's going to have to be visible. He's going to have to be
Public.
in public.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and he's going to have to come to Florida.
No, he doesn't.
You know, Texas.
Oh yeah.
Oh yes, he does.
He can relinquish those two
and what
states.
he's been doing is, you know,
Relinquish.
sending
what-
I don't
He's
think
gonna
he
win
can
him
afford
anyway.
it.
He's not going to win him anyway.
like sending your wife down here. That's not going to cut
No,
it in the
he's not going to
campaign.
win Florida anyway.
No one said that he was going to. If he wants to remain competitive,
We still go to New York and
he
California.
still has to come to Florida. He still has to come.
He
to
can
And
possibly
my
win Texas.
and my
Still
overall
has to-
point, my
still
overall
gotta go.
point is that he does not have the physical and mental fortitude
Well, we can-
to make it through a presidential
There is
campaign.
not enough
we're going to have
cocaine.
to see that.
I'm gonna grab a line.
I'm just predicting it right now.
I'm gonna grab a line from EPMD. You can pick and wish on a 4-leaf clover.
He
But
can
he's
barely
gonna
make
win.
it through a scripted speech.
It's almost like we were hoping that something bad happens to this man.
No, I
would
don't need anything bad
never
to happen to him.
Light a candle every Sunday.
I
asking
see it
for
every
God
time
to-
that he makes a speech
either-
in front of a room.
You know what? I do
At
the
the
same
end.
prayer to Joe Biden every single weekend when I light a candle.
I don't
it's,
wanna
and
know.
it's the normal prayer. Lord, either change his mind or take him with you. So, like, whatever needs to happen, needs to happen.
Wow,
I
and that's a
definitely-
prayer.
Whoa, it's
And
a
that's
can-
a-
it's
and that's a
candle.
prayer?
Is there?
And
Is it in
that's
a book? I
another
don't
one.
know about that.
You know,
But-
that was interesting. Wow, that's very interesting. But
Well, what we
would-
don't
I
need
would-
is Kamala Harris to be the president of the United
Well,
States.
I think she'd be a
That-
great president.
no, what you have going for you really is the fact. What you actually have going for you is the fact that Kamala Harris is the vice president. Because if he had a stronger running mate, it would be a wash as well, because Kamala Harris has dissuaded a lot of voters, particularly those in the black community. If he had he stuck to his word, but had he taken Val Demings, I think he'd have done better, because she could have been solid. Kamala was more popular.
Yeah.
And he would have done something to the state of Florida. Then you
Which would have caused.
Then you could come into Florida.
That's the purpose of a vice president. The purpose of a vice president is to cause a problem or to shore up.
Okay.
And she did neither. She came from California, and no one wants to vote for her. So that didn't do anything.
She came from a state that he was going to get anyway.
Well, and Val couldn't deliver Florida, which is why they didn't go with her. Even though she would have been a stronger candidate than Kamala.
Yeah, but
she would have given him a different voice that was respected, because Val Demings.
Oh, absolutely. I totally agree with you.
But I also think that Kamala also brought with her a more
baggage.
Well, no, I was going to say a more diverse background. The first Indian American, Asian American woman in the White House. Not
depending on the day,
right? So you got to look at. Remember, the Democratic Party is the party of the Big Tent.
That's the Republican Party. The party of the Big Tent.
You're the
grand old party. Grand.
Well, we're not going to get into it. That whole grand stuff.
Yeah,
right
that
now.
grand. Yeah, like, whether it's a wizard or anything else. But anyway, hey, he said it.
You guys are the ones that created the Ku Klux Klan.
Look, I will tell you this.
Yeah,
Democrats didn't.
Well, can't with you guys.
We can't do the Tennessee thing, right? I thought Tennessee was south of is part of, under the Mason-Dixon line, right?
Yes.
Hey, listen, I pay attention to his actions.
Yeah, but who ran the South?
Democrats.
Yeah, but you're talking about before the Dixiecrat change. We're not going to do that.
No, we're not.
You can't believe that.
Now we're just playing.
We're not going to do that.
Semantics.
We're not going to do the Rutherford B.
We all know that
thing. We're going to that just never took
we
place.
All
we're not going to act like
know
the federal troops were not drawn out of the South.
Got flipped.
Yeah.
So let's continue.
So
at what point? At what point did it get flipped? Was it after FDR? Was it after Lyndon Baines Johnson?
Hayes and Tilden, wasn't it?
So,
Rutherford B. Hayes. That's why you still have the.
So then
that's
Democrats
why you actually have something that the only thing that's ever kept the Republican in office is because of that compromise when they pulled the federal troops out of the South. People forget that that's what also ushered in Jim Crow, and it killed the first Reconstruction. I know y'all didn't go to University of Jefferson High School, but hey,
so
don't
then
take
you'll
my
take
word,
credit
look it
for
up.
So then Democrats will take credit for the concentration camps of the Japanese. After
I'm only talking about
Pearl Harbor.
No, when you say Democrats, you're giving a party affiliation versus a party ideology. And the ideology of what you would call a Democrat then would more be reflective of what you would call
right. But we know you look at
the
the civil rights legislation from the 1960s, and Republicans overwhelmingly voted for it, where Democrats voted against it every single time. It's in the congressional record.
Okay, I get that, but let me help you out. What would you classify Strom Thurmond as today? Thank you. Next.
Yeah, but then so then
I don't care who his girlfriends were. No different than Thomas Jefferson.
Okay, but then who was the guy? The guy who died in office, the senator, died during the Clinton administration.
Lee or Byrd?
Byrd.
Byrd.
What about
He was a literal Ku Klux Klan member.
As a Democrat,
Died as a Democrat in the Senate
in the 90s.
Listen, there's guys that wear sheets on both sides of the parties.
Yes.
Okay, so let's not.
But let's go to this. If you did not have the current structure for the electoral college, you only win Reagan. You win Bush, maybe, but you don't get him the second time because he doesn't win the first time. You've won two. When they say about these stolen elections, you've only won 2 popular votes.
Look, I'm not saying that people haven't switched parties. Look, I've campaigned in Louisiana. I've campaigned in Jacksonville, where you still have registered Democrats who vote consistently Republican because they know the parties have changed. But generationally, they've been Democrats. Their entire lineage has been Democrats, and so they refuse to change their voter registration.
If it wasn't important, you would just have Congress pass an act, get your 60% in the Senate, and say we just go straight electoral. We go straight the same way we pick every other leader. We do it for the presidency, and you don't win again.
Well, of course, but that's why it was designed the way it was. To prevent that from happening.
No, it was designed the way it was as a byproduct of the 3/5 compromise. So we're not going to do that.
All right. Well, my main thing is getting back to Ron DeSantis.
He's not going to run for president.
Because he can't.
You don't think he's going to run?
I don't think that he's going to officially.
Why don't y'all like Youngkin or who's the other one I say? Youngkin.
It's not about liking.
Youngkin's not going to jump in the race.
I'm just saying
they could win.
I just don't believe
he's not going to beat Trump. Youngkin can't beat Trump.
I just don't think that DeSantis is going to win.
The only person that can beat Trump is DeSantis, and I think that if he does jump in, he is going to have that opportunity. But it's no, it can happen.
People that can beat Trump.
It can happen.
There's other
Who
people
else?
Beat Trump.
Southern District of New York.
Thank you. No, not the Southern District of New York.
He wants to move into
Georgia.
No, them too.
No, Georgia won.
So
he's gonna skate in the Southern District.
I don't think he's going to get Georgia either.
My case against Trump is that he's full of baggage.
You asking to find votes and you telling him to make votes are two different things. He's not going to get put out for Georgia. He's not going to get put out for New York. These things, again, you're causing.
He's talking about the lawsuits.
That's what I know exactly. I know exactly what he's talking about. My issue is this: I agreed with you as of the time that they indicted Trump. The moment they indicted Trump, I was like, "There's no way this Republican primaries are going to vote anyone else but Trump because they're going to want to figure out a way to stick it to the man." And the way you
especially that DA,
and the way you stick it to the man is you vote for Trump in the primaries. I don't think there's any other way around it. You could have had a DeSantis before that, but now even I was upset when they had him go down to the courthouses to do that because I was like, this is a kangaroo court is becoming, and this is not my opinion, but this is a lot of people's opinions and thoughts about it. They're going, so that 30% have probably pushed into the 40s now of people that will vote for no one but Trump.
I just don't get why you all find Ron DeSantis so appealing in this atmosphere when you have other guys that if you just got behind, I think would be
because we're on the inside,
exactly,
and those guys don't get the base excited.
No,
Ron DeSantis genuinely has the base like on the fence. And I know it doesn't seem like it. No, you have your MAGA diehards, and I'm not talking about your MAGA diehards. I'm talking about your dyed-in-the-wool Republicans, who want what's best for the party and who wants
the women's federation. No, you need the
I'm not saying
federation, and you need some of these other organizations that are heavy Republicans, heavy onto like the constitutionalists and everything else, and even them are the ones that are pushing Trump to vote, and like that is becoming a bigger and bigger quality and voice in the Republican Party.
Well, and I'll tell you where I pretty much would have declared, if you would have asked me this a month ago, I would have declared DeSantis' campaign over, which is when pretty much the entire Florida delegation endorsed Trump. Now,
except for Laura
that
Lee.
Being said, correct.
Who?
That Laura Lee from Polk County and Hillsborough, Polk and Hillsborough County.
Somebody else too. Yeah, they have.
Yeah, it's not all of them, but the fact that they endorsed this early pretty much takes the sting out of it, because as we know, it's a marathon. Mm-hmm. It's not a sprint.
It's not a sprint. Right.
And by the time it comes to the primary vote, nobody's going to care about those endorsements. Most people can't tell you who their congressman is versus who their state rep is.
But as an inside, I'm not even an outside. I'm an independent. So for everybody's clarity, I'm registered independent. I'm looking at the raw numbers. I don't put feelings into this at all. I'm looking at raw numbers. Plus, I wouldn't be surprised if DJT would run independent and flush there's no way
just blow the whole thing up. Yeah.
No. Let me tell you why. Not even to win the election.
He played the spoiler though. I totally would see.
Not to win the election, Diaz, to extend the indictment time. Because as long as he's running for president, he extends the time.
Let me just throw this out here. This is
he's a selfish guy.
This stems from my time. Again, I'm from the Philadelphia area. Grew up there. Just been in Florida for maybe about 10, 12 years. So, explain to me how you're sitting there watching TV and your kid is saying, "Mom, why is the governor mad at Mickey Mouse?" This is every kid's hero. This is every kid's dream to come down and hang out with this mouse.
Across the country.
Across the country.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So you're in Ohio, you're in
Tennessee,
you're
unless the Democrats are going to run ads saying, "Oh, why does the governor hate Mickey Mouse?"
Oh, they will.
Like I don't think you got your own Chris Christie saying, you know what I mean? Ron, leave the mouse alone.
Yeah, I mean, but there are
your own guy saying, leave the mouse alone.
Well, I know because
could you imagine Chris Christie's kids, Daddy? Why is Ron DeSantis mad at Mickey Mouse?
I don't like Ron DeSantis
because Mickey Mouse.
Yeah, but Mickey Mouse.
This is where everybody up north comes in to win.
Increased his annual passes like 32%.
Well, not only that, I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why some of these Republicans
wants to come down here in the winter months.
Yeah,
because the weather.
They're going to continue to do so.
The weather,
exactly.
But you know what? In California, Disney can't lift a finger without the city of Anaheim's approval. Okay, and so the fact that they're trying to make you're absolutely right. They've had a sweetheart deal now for 50 years.
So what?
You know, and so the fact is that they need to. They need to realize what state they're dealing with.
The villages are not the same.
But
as
but
Disney.
my point is, I'm saying they've had a sweet deal. But the point is, look at the benefit of Disney. If you even look at
sorry, I just want to finish. The reason these Republicans are coming out and saying, "Oh, why are you fighting with Disney? Why are you fighting with Disney?" is because we're thinking of the theme park. You are not thinking of the Walt Disney Corp, multinational corporation that puts millions of dollars into lobbying these congressmen, governors, in elections all over the country.
Right, but no, Johnny.
What do you mean? So what? It's the same reason Trump is telling people to drink Bud Light when all the Republicans are pissed off at Anheuser-Busch. Because Anheuser-Busch is putting money into the Trump campaign.
I think you're conflating issues, man.
I think we're all going.
You're conflating issues. No, y'all are on the same side. I'm trying to figure out how you're going to win.
I'm just saying.
No, how are you going to win? Your top two guys. Let me ask you a question. Why did Bill Clinton become president?
Because there was a third party.
Because he came to the center. Because he came to the center, worked with Republicans.
That's not why he won.
Because Papa Bush raised taxes on the people, and that's
not even why.
That's not the reason why.
Some guy by the name of, tell him his name,
won his first campaign, or his re-election.
His re-election.
He ran twice. He ran both times.
No, I know. I'm asking you which election was it that
Ross
you were.
Perot ran twice.
Oh, well, yeah, the independent. No, I know. And like I said, it wouldn't surprise me 1 second if Trump played the spoiler. It's totally in his bag.
I got until November of 2024 to make sure I don't go to jail, because essentially it stops the entire process. I can run into 2020 until at least November, is it 7th or 8th this next time? 2024. And I ain't got to get indicted. I give 3 Fs if I win. I just know I ain't got to even start the process until 2024.
Trump started running before any of this happened.
He wasn't indicted then, though.
But he was.
But he
still ran.
I mean,
he still started running.
We know that part of this whole scheme is to protect himself from the indictments. No, it is. I mean,
thank you.
Look, it is what it is.
When he ran the first
and again, that's exactly why I don't understand why Republicans would want to vote for him, because that's the only reason he's running.
So if Republicans don't vote for Trump, who do they vote for?
Thank you.
Who's your bench?
No, like I said,
I think Haley is
no.
Is it Nikki Haley?
No, but I think DeSantis wins it. And
is it Tim Scott?
Jesus,
no. They'll end up if Republicans win the election, they'll end up in a cabinet position. She'll end up on the cabinet again. Nikki will.
I doubt it. I don't think she's that liked.
I don't know. I mean, I believe, Trump liked her enough to make her ambassador of the U.S.
She has better numbers than Kamala.
People like, so what? This is a different issue, though. It's a different issue.
Still a presidential position.
No, I think more people probably like Kristen Sinema on your side than would like Nikki Haley. I think
the problem is, to answer your question, is that as long as Donald Trump is in the race, the bench is not going to come out. The people that could win this election,
they're still afraid.
They're not, of course.
They don't want to waste millions of dollars.
They're absolutely afraid of him.
Say that one more time.
Why is it?
But you know who's not afraid of him? I don't think Ron DeSantis is afraid.
Are you saying that Joe Biden is the best Democrat that can possibly run this country right now?
No.
So then why aren't there any other Democrats running? Why aren't there real Democrats running for the presidency?
Because we still want to have the presidency.
Okay, so you're saying
because it's tradition to allow for the president to run for re-election.
No, that's not the question he asked. He says, "Why are there better Democrats?" I think we spoke about.
Yeah, we spoke about that.
Candidly, Pete Buttigieg he just ain't gonna ever win because he ain't gonna get the votes.
He'll never win.
No. I answered your question. I think that Gavin Newsom
in California
is very much better. I think that what's the one that lost the presidency?
Better's a stretch, but
I mean, lost the governorship in Ohio. He just lost the Senate in Ohio. Ryan.
Yeah, Tim Ryan.
I
thought you were going to say the fake Mexican from Texas.
You talking about Cruz?
No.
Raphael?
No.
Huh?
Beto.
No, he's not serious. But you know, this other guy running against Ted could actually win. But also, it's a little bit premature. I don't. You all think I'm joking? Hogan or Youngkin could actually.
They're not going to win a Republican primary.
They don't get out of the primaries.
If they could win a primary, they could win maybe
because of Trump.
Election.
Exactly.
Yeah, but Trump's not going to get out.
I don't think Larry Hogan's afraid of Trump.
I don't think he is either.
I don't think he
can. But he knows he can't win a primary.
Raise the money.
There you go.
He's too liberal. The conservative groups will destroy him.
You want to win. Now the question becomes who you like versus who can win. Because it's not like, I won't say I dislike. Joe Biden's been effective as a president, considering what he has to deal with. Oh, God. But well, you call it what you want to. I got an issue with the fact that I got I'm minus at least one Supreme Court justice and 3 other ones. And I despite having political differences with Chief Justice Roberts, I have an issue with the ethics issue because I actually have respect. You know, I actually had some respect for Scalia, even though I might have had some personal opinions about him. You've now tainted the only esteemed institution in our country now. Was supposed to be the Supreme Court. And you have 2 other people there. Well, no, they're all. Trump has one because now Gorsuch, which I thought, dang, guy, really? But what Clarence Thomas and Justice Roberts has done is not only impeachable, but because the Republicans won't do it. Because at one time, you're not going to tell me that Trent Lott Republicans, that era of Republicans, they would say, you need to go ahead and step down before we take you down. Because that's the only reason Richard Nixon resigned is because he had, I don't care about your political affiliation. I care about how you carry out the business of the country. And in this instance, just to win, Republicans have actually thrown what a Republican really is into the water because at least you could be respected.
Oh, yeah. Look, I mean, Trump literally burned the book on politics.
No,
because we're seeing it. We're seeing it at every level. Look, even here at the local level.
Yes.
Orlando Goods, or however you pronounce his last name, or, he should have resigned for the stuff that came out about him, and he said no, and he just waited it out, and everybody forgot about it and moved on.
No, they didn't forget about it because if they forgot about it, he'd still be in office right now.
He only lost by 50 votes.
Ken Welch is doing the same thing in St. Petersburg, hiring family members and pretty much trying to get away with whatever.
That's a different way. You're talking about nepotism now. That's
nepotism.
No, I know, but what I'm saying is that things that would have caused previous elected officials to resign, is now they've realized that the game is just waiting it out and letting it blow over.
But local politics is a small group, and you're going to have dirty local politics. Not that it's acceptable. But we're talking about institutions that the world recognizes the United States for being.
I know, but we're even seeing it in Congress. I mean, again, Democrats have said it themselves. They said if Al Franken were to have been accused for what he was accused for today, he wouldn't have resigned. He'd still be in office because it would have blown over.
I thought that was a bad move by the Democrats.
Right? Really no, absolutely. Because, in the grand scope of things, he just got caught up in the movement, in the Me Too movement, when really what he did was questionably wrong.
It was
yeah. I mean, he's a comedian who did something stupid. But again, it's Trump changed and has changed and will have changed politics forever.
We're in a situation,
at least for our lifetime.
He changed it by he brought out a feeling and a sentiment that was already there that was festering. He brought it to the top, and that's bothersome when you look like me, but I'm okay as long as I know who my enemies are. I know where to put my scope, and I mean that in every sense of the way.
But how has he made an enemy of the black community?
I didn't say
he personally Trump.
Yeah,
he brought him out. He made them comfortable being it.
Being what?
What they are. He made
who being what? Being what?
He made racism popular and acceptable. He made disrespect. Listen, I don't care.
He made disrespect toward African Americans and towards darker minorities
acceptable.
You know, when you would see people walking into restaurants, you know what I mean? I don't have to take this anymore. I voted for Trump.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like you're setting a precedent right then and there.
Yeah.
Okay. So
even if you want to blame it on Obama winning,
and then flip it, okay? And then he's at rallies and says that's my African American over there as a form of ownership. Last time I thought slavery was over.
And those bozos even.
But that's the context you want to put it in. I mean, how many times?
That's the question. I'm just answering your question.
So when he says that, when he says that at a rally, are you saying that black individuals that are Trump supporters, he can't say those are my people, or he can't say those are my those are my supporters? So if he would have said those are my supporters, would you have a problem with that?
Have you ever heard him say those are my Hispanics?
Yes. Those are my white guys.
Yeah.
I haven't. I'm just saying. Maybe he has.
We have gone to those rallies where he literally pointed out.
But you know what's happening is that in the Hispanic community, people looked at what he said, despite what the media, the predominantly white media, said, and about the illegal immigrants who were rapists and criminals and all that, and the Hispanic community said, you know what, he's right. Because he was right.
I've heard that.
You know what I mean? And they didn't take it personal. The ones who were reasonable about saying that.
Coming from some that are also Cuban who Reagan gave amnesty to.
But to that point, it was under the Trump administration by the Cuban delegation of Florida, the Cuban American delegation of Florida, congressional delegation of Florida, that they ended the wet foot, dry foot law.
Correct.
All I'm saying is the question asked was Trump made
racism acceptable.
Made white racism
open racism. Openly racism acceptable.
And made African Americans.
I would disagree.
Some African Americans feel uncomfortable because they felt as though the time clock had now gone backwards. Okay, we're in 2017, and now all of a sudden we're in 1962.
I think no matter what, I don't think no matter I think no matter who would have followed Barack Obama,
how is that ridiculous?
How is that ridiculous?
So if a white person were to come up to you, okay, and say, I voted for Trump, I don't have to deal with your Hispanic ass anymore. You know what I mean? That's okay.
I've had Democrats say that to me during the talk.
I didn't ask you
but
that.
that's the thing. I don't understand. I don't. Do you have to talk in the mic? You have to talk in the mic because then they can't hear.
Because I'm pissed right now. Because it's happened to me.
No, because then I can't hear you.
You know what I mean? And I try to be
in the courtrooms. It happens to me as well.
I've got people ask me.
With white folks, black folks,
I've had people tell me to go back to my home country, and I tell them this is where I'm from. Like I get into it with them.
I went to a Tiger Bay event. Okay,
you too.
And this Republican guy made a comment.
Tiger Bay is mostly Democrats.
This guy made a comment.
Listen, bro.
Okay. And I carry a gun. What was he saying? Yeah, I carry a gun because I can't carry a police officer with me everywhere I go. Okay. So you say that to say that you need to carry this gun. And he was putting in, I'm paraphrasing, and you don't have all the background information. But he was saying this to say, I have to carry a gun to protect me from people that look like him and I. Okay?
I ain't thinking about your ass.
Okay? And that was the point.
But when was this also?
2017?
It doesn't matter when it was, because let me explain something to you.
Of course, because after Trump got elected, the riots, that were happening.
Man, racial tensions increased by 239% when Barack Obama was elected, and I'm not necessarily happy with all of his politics. But you're not going to convince me I don't see what I see, and I've been all over the world. I lived in Mississippi, Biloxi, from 75 to 80 when I've seen Klan rallies.
Ask the Asian American community about
how they feel about it.
This is, and they were getting, because of Trump too.
And this is where I'll agree with you, and I'll explain to you.
Trump's not responsible for somebody else's racism. I'll never say it. He's not responsible for anybody else's feelings. What we're saying is he made it comfortable for people who may have had certain sentiments, even if Donald Trump doesn't hold them. He made them feel comfortable that utter disrespect for people of color was acceptable. And the numbers show it. Forget what we say. We're talking about empirical data supports it. The rise in white nationalist groups and their, people forget you didn't have a whole bunch of DOJ investigations. In fact, you didn't have one. While Donald Trump was president, not one DOJ investigation into a white supremacist group. Look it up.
Okay.
And he didn't also, how many black federal judges did he appoint?
Okay,
He
but
had
on
180,
the
right?
converse of the summer riots, that came about from all the BLM stuff. I mean, where were all the?
They're just a small organization.
I've only mentioned it once, Greg. But
no, I mean, but people say listen,
George Floyd.
Because a lot of that stemmed from
murdered. George Floyd was murdered on national TV. That was the only bill. That was the event. That was it.
Yeah. But it was also...
You said all of these BLM events. You know what I mean?
Well, no, because that one was...
He meant the BLM, whatever, Black Lives Matter event, which... Listen,
because it started with George Floyd, right?
Black Lives Matter was along before then.
They just grabbed the acronym and ran with this new organization, but
that's what they do. They grab a hold of anytime there's a black male that dies and wants to.
They ran off with it, but we forget the young lady, I can't even remember her name, which is sad, who got killed during the
Sandra Bland.
No, I forgot
the one in the house break-in. There was the
no, not Sandra Bland. Who was the white lady who was killed during the Jews Will Not Replace Us? She was run over by the car.
Yes.
Forget about that.
In Charlottesville.
Charlottesville.
Yeah.
We forget about Sandra Bland.
You forget about her.
And I'm saying, I know that there's white people who've been brutalized by the police as well. That's not the point. The point is, as you talk, I don't even think Donald Trump is necessarily he's just the catalyst for their sentiments. He's not responsible for what somebody else does, but to say that it didn't increase is almost, it's disingenuous, man.
No, what I'm saying is not that it increased. I think it was always existent.
No,
it was just it's the fact that he did bring down the decorum, I guess, that we would expect in our national politics, and that was the thing. There was this thing that there were a lot of things that you didn't do and didn't say in our national politics.
From the president,
and but that started from day one of his campaign, and there would and so from the time
why was it popular? Why was it acceptable?
Because the sentiment among Republicans for a long time, and I'm talking way before Trump was ever a factor in the Republican Party, was the fact that Republicans never punched back. Republicans always took
So you get this guy?
So the fact that Trump was willing to punch back at the establishment, he was willing to punch back at his opponents. Okay, that is what empowered people all over the country.
I'll tell you this, for what it's worth. Trump was not the only one that could have beaten Hillary Clinton. Trump rode the wave because he started the wave while President Obama was in his last term. He started the wave of building it up. He questioned his.
He started that wave when Obama got into office with questioning his birth certificate.
So yeah, that had been his first one.
That's when the whole birth thing.
Hillary Clinton was the first one to question Barack Obama's birth certificate.
She wasn't,
and then Trump was the one that pushed it even further and made it into.
But my point is, what he started to do with that is that's when it started. That's when this galvanizing of these individuals who became comfortable later on started. It was great politics. It helped him get elected, and I don't even blame him. He just said, "I want to win. This is how I win."
I know, but the reason that he won was because he was the only one willing to point out a lot of the hypocrisy. And a lot of the establishment that we're seeing now in the Democratic Party, with them basically acting like Biden has no opponents in this race, when in fact he has three.
Well, the fact,
you know what I mean?
I'm agreeing with everything that you're saying, John.
But that's a different issue, though. We're talking about how we're talking about how you run the country.
How he galvanized his base was based off of racism and
Period.
That's all I'm saying.
And it was accepted.
Yeah, because there was a sentiment. Yes, because there was a sentiment among the Republican Party that not only the Republicans, not only former Republican presidents, but also the Democrats had prioritized other countries. They had prioritized the foreign wars. They had forgotten about the American individual, the American citizen.
Who's the American individual?
Well, the majority of them are white.
So what did "Make America Great Again" mean?
Yeah.
It was about empowering, about all the things he accomplished, getting us out of war, focusing on the United States as a priority, making us the predominant superpower, locking down the borders so that we can actually. I mean, how long do you think it was?
Not do.
He was started to.
He didn't even do He didn't do as good a job as, oddly enough, Barack Obama.
Dude, you know how long the Mexican border is? You know how many years it was going to take to actually.
Hey, I was stationed on it. Yeah.
Exactly. So you knew it wasn't going to get done in 8 years, even if he'd won re-election.
Especially after the midterms when the Democrats took over the House and the Senate.
And they removed all the funding for it.
That wasn't going to happen anyway, bro. But it was a popular campaign. It's a popular campaign slogan. That's all.
I just want to make sure that I answer your question in the most intelligent way possible. Okay.
We can't pretend not to see what we see.
And yeah. You know,
I'm not saying it didn't bring those people out of the woodwork. Absolutely. I mean, you know, that's
an understatement, bro.
You know, but it also galvanized a lot of people to vote where he didn't. But also, if you look, he also garnered a larger amount of the Black and Hispanic vote than any Republican candidate before him.
The reason why President Trump lost the 2020 election is because I think 4 to 6% of white males did not vote for him the second time than the first time. He increased in Asians, he increased in blacks, men and women, he increased in Hispanics, men and women. That's how he lost. He lost because white men did not come out to vote for him.
He won because he got slaughtered in the popular vote, and I think they get.
I'm sorry. Do we elect presidents because of the popular vote? We elect presidents because of the way we do it when it comes to states.
No, but my point is, you're acting like he's more popular.
No one is saying that.
It's strategic.
This whole thing has been strategic. The way you become president is by getting a certain amount of numbers in the Electoral College.
Absolutely.
In those states that he could have won, he lost because white men did not come out to vote for him.
No doubt.
So then what are you arguing about?
But it's this notion that it was something that was like nefarious. Really, the honesty is...
We're going back to that. Let's try. First of all, we've been on this topic for way too long.
Way too long.
We need to figure out how to move on from this. But me telling you,
let him finish what he was going to say.
Me telling you that the President 45 lost because of 30 to 50,000 votes is not incorrect. It is correct.
It's not. No different than saying the same could be said for Hillary. Had she got doggone campaigned in Minnesota, in Michigan, and Wisconsin, she wins.
Yeah, but she didn't. The president won. The president won those parts of the country because he went there.
A campaign is not about right or wrong. A campaign is about strategy.
But look at his behavior. We talked about behavior at once, and I'm a person who started as a Republican. Look at the behavior. We can't even accept losing gracefully. It's just sometimes people lose.
And again, those are the things that and again, we're obviously, Anibal and I are very different, people to talk from, because we'll admit to you that Trump lost the election. You know what I mean?
The fact that we're willing to say that is something that a lot of Republicans are not willing to say.
That is true, because there are a bunch of Republicans out there that are like, what are you talking about? Trump is still our president. He just doesn't stay at the White House. And not only that, the White House, did you know, is in Mar-a-Lago.
Yeah, I mean
it's the White House of the South. Did you know that?
There is a White House of the South,
that in and of itself, for any rationally thinking human being, should be problematic. That we can't say this is what happened.
But we saw this. But we saw the same thing.
For you to vote for a president that's indicted.
But that's the thing.
That right there is insane.
From day one, Republicans took everything that they stood for. Okay, because we were the party of family values, we were the party of fiscal responsibility. Okay, and they took it and they literally set it on fire.
Because we lost 3 cycles.
He should have lost. He should have lost the campaign the minute the Access Hollywood tape came out. Right. In typical politics, I lost count.
Should he have pulled himself from the race at that time?
No.
Hold on.
No, I think it should have happened naturally. It should have happened organically.
So Gary Hart was wrong, right?
So the guy
Gary Hart was wrong.
So the guy in Minnesota, the comedian, he makes a comment. He should have resigned.
No, I'm not saying that.
I thought you just said that.
No, I'm saying that's what happened.
No, he did resign because Democrats forced him.
Yeah, I know exactly.
So when Trump
that was the politics of the old.
Grab him by
that's the comments of the old.
Should he have resigned after he made that comment?
Again, it was his decision not to, but
I'm just saying, I mean, your opinion.
You would have hoped. I mean, again, I was on the Never Trump bandwagon up until the primary election, up until the general.
Was that conversation? That like a few?
I wasn't going to vote for Hillary
before that, or was that a few years before that? That was years in the past before that.
I'm just
It
saying.
was a few years.
I'm just saying, but when that came to
He
light,
wasn't a politician back then.
it doesn't matter.
It
He's
does
still a
matter.
human
The
being.
Democrats
So
had
character doesn't matter?
to because
You
that
don't say things that are not appropriate to be said.
That's
off
why I don't
mic.
run for office.
That's why I don't run for office.
because the Me Too movement came from the left. Democrats had to force him to resign because that was the base of their voting
and
bloc.
that's something else. Right? I think issues should remain issues.
Right.
Okay, among human people, human beings. Okay, like freedom of speech. Right. The minute I throw out the flyer for freedom of speech, they say, "How many people on the right do you have to speak? How many people do you have on the left to speak?"
Right.
When did freedom of speech
Become a political issue.
a left or right issue?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like a lot of the things that we're talking about how people deal with issues, right? And because a Republican deals with an issue one way and a Democrat deals with an issue a different way, supposedly, it's the same issue.
Well, no,
just like we were
but
talking about offline.
Right, but again, but you can do that with so look at the abortion issue. And we certainly don't want to go down that road.
Get into that.
But the way that the Republican Party would handle that issue versus the Democrat Party would handle that issue is very different.
And I honestly think that, and this is just my opinion, and I get
And that's
kickback
only
from this.
recently because prior to
As a
1980,
male-
you all would have been okay with it.
As a male, we have no place in that conversation whatsoever.
See, I disagree, but
I disagree.
But that's,
Yeah,
you know what I mean? And that's as far as the abortion conversation I'm going to get in.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Because
Next
you're
topic.
not willing to get into the conversation because you have a personal belief that it does not reflect you whatsoever.
It has nothing to
even
do
though
with
you
it. That
had
it's not your choice.
But even though you had something to do with the creation of that life, you still have nothing to do with
And
it.
maybe that's because I haven't created any life. I just practice. You know what I mean?
Ooh, I loved
what I
it.
mean?
That was a good one.
That's the truth. You
I know,
what I mean?
but we understand the pos. We understand the.
I'm just. I just don't think that.
But then,
Look,
that's a very, very divisive conversation that has many layers of gray into it.
And so, all right, so let's kind of bring the Ron DeSantis topic to a close, and then I'll close on this, which is
Did we even get on that guy?
well, yeah. I mean, we didn't get to any of the legislative stuff other than Disney, but
What? Wait a minute. We didn't even address that half of Florida's underwater.
Is it
well, yeah.
wouldn't
But
say half.
why is Florida underwater? Well, specifically Broward County, and I'd go to the county commission and be like, "What answers you got?"
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because at least here, at least somewhat here in Tampa, you see some stuff going on in South Tampa. You see them digging up something every so often. And you see some pipes going in the ground.
always kill Delmay South for some reason.
The governor should be here to do what you just said.
He should have been on the ground there right after the flooding and done like he did for the
But he's
hurricane.
in
And
Japan, right?
and so, but yeah, he's.
And
I
when
mean,
the question was asked him directly, he said, "When you run, if you win."
But again, that's not a left or right. It's not.
No, it's not.
That is a
You're
human
the
issue.
governor of our state.
That you know what I mean?
We elected you to take care of
The
us.
governor of this state has direct access to what's going on in Broward County and makes the decisions
So he shouldn't
that are
be-
10
he
to
shouldn't be
15 years
vis-
in the making.
He shouldn't be visible.
I'm not saying
I'm
that.
not-
well, yeah, he
what
should
I'm-
have been there,
what
just
I'm
like he
saying-
did for the hurricane.
and I don't. And I don't
When those
you get
buildings
him on
collapsed,
that.
he was there.
Yeah.
When?
Or was that before? Was that before a campaign cycle?
No, I mean, yeah, he was there when the buildings collapsed in Miami.
The
When was
condos
that?
off
When
the
was that?
water.
Yeah. When was that? When was that? When was that? When was that?
I'm not taking any shots at the governor. All I'm saying is
I do.
people, when there's
honestly,
an
pew, pew.
issue, people need to take the issue for
I know,
the human
but
side.
to me, that's somebody who realizes that Broward County is one of three blue counties.
3 blue counties now.
So we're talking politics. That is, Broward County is one of
Not
3 blue
human.
counties.
It's not a human issue.
Okay,
now,
he
right?
can't run for re-election.
But why does it have
Okay,
to? You know what I mean?
and no, I
Because
know.
he's in
I'm not saying it's
Japan.
right. I'm not saying it's right.
Okay, and
that's a
what-
legitimate criticism. But again, he's going to get Florida. Whether it's Ron DeSantis or Trump, they're going to win Florida. And
Really?
and Broward is a blue county, one of 3.
For
and
now.
so, dude, did you see how far that pendulum swung to the right?
Miami-Dade used to be blue.
Yeah.
Exactly, used to be.
Broward's the next. In that,
Oh, that's what I'm saying. Well,
it's one over.
That's right. But
That's
the
what I'm saying,
people
for
who are
now.
going to, yeah, in Broward, I mean, again, it's not going to take much before, I mean, he's already going after, who is it, the
I
DA
can
or
promise you,
the school board? and
the
school board. Yeah. Anyway,
there are a few
I
people
can promise
going
you that that's going to be my buddy DJT's. That's going to be another point for him.
Oh yeah, no, of course, and it should be. That's fair.
Okay.
I think him coming on the ones that have sided with Disney, and I know Aniebles is probably going to be able to better make the case. That's the one that's confused me a bit, because it's obvious for Trump. It's obvious. Okay, just get on the other side of whatever DeSantis is doing.
It was a bad side,
but
a mouse dog.
No, but look, I mean,
Mickey Mouse,
the reason DeSantis is going after Disney is because of the larger cultural war that's happening right now with Disney. The fact that they had executives on a conference call saying that they are injecting the LGBTQ agenda into all of their content, company-wide. Okay, so it's not just about the Reedy Creek Development District. Okay, this is it's about the fact that, you know, this is going to be, if he's able to pull this off, this is going to be a major winning point for him in the campaign. But he has to win it.
Hold on.
I thought
one of the vestiges of a Republican or conservative ideology was to stay out of private enterprise.
Not when that private enterprise is sticking itself into politics.
No. Especially when they're spending the amount of money that they are.
Sticking itself into politics.
How?
By the amount of money
they put into the PACs and the lobbying. Look up the amount of money they spend on lobbying every year in Florida.
But help me out here.
For the longest time ever, Disney did a 50-50 split, like Publix and a bunch of other large Florida organizations, to show that they were bipartisan, because they would split their money when it came to the PACs and it came to lobbyists. But then you have one cycle where someone says one comment about the governor, and they get upset about what they're commenting.
That's not what happened.
When it comes to Don't Say Gay bill, that allegedly, which doesn't say gay in it, the bill literally does not say it, but yet people stereotype it because they know it's a nice little thing that they can say when it comes to
the same way of saying woke with no definition.
So now you have the situation where a private company is saying, we're going to stick it to the governor, and we're going to use all of our stuff to be, and we're going to move all of our conservative money is now going to go to all Democrat lobbyists.
So what?
And now you have so now what?
No,
you have a private company saying that we're going to figure out a way to get rid of the governor.
You're missing the bigger point, Greg.
I'm thinking Citizens United is what your issue is. My point is, it doesn't matter how or what private enterprise does with their money. If we're going to start regulating that, we may not have this representative republic that you talk about.
But think about this strategically from a campaigning standpoint.
Stick their nose in the politics. I stick my nose in the politics. I donate to campaigns.
Okay, but strategically,
whatever they are, society. I feel so.
Strategically, who would it appeal to see a candidate willing to go up a multinational corporation and actually take them to court and hold them accountable for what he feels is an outdated agreement between them and the state of Florida, where they are reaping billions of dollars in.
Was it a legitimately signed contract?
Right, but he's only.
But it's outdated. It's 50 years old.
How long was is the contract valid?
Where was this?
Yes, but the environment has changed. The atmosphere has changed. Democrats were in power when that agreement was changed.
All that matters is an agreement between the state. Hey, you know,
okay,
who's in power when
but that's to say that. Do you have problems with laws being repealed?
No. Well, depends. Well, who decides to repeal it? But we have Article 1, Section 9 of your Florida Constitution that speaks to contracts.
Yeah, but there are contracts again that the environment changes, the circumstances change, and therefore the contract needs to be revisited.
The Constitution is a living document that some people may or may not be happy with.
Yeah, but doesn't it take? There's provisions that are already established to bring about a constitutional referendum. He's not exercising that. He is solely doing it.
Because the agreement is not with the Constitution of Florida. It is merely a contract with the state of Florida.
But the state of Florida has a constitution that allows for contracts. Look up Article 1, Section 9 in your Florida Constitution.
What I'm saying is that it
beyond due
that
process.
It doesn't. Just because the contract was signed doesn't mean that you can't revisit that contract and saying that the terms have now changed and are outdated.
There are many of examples around the country of states reneging on the positions that they picked or canceling contracts.
All I'm saying
I don't
is
know what the provisions are in the contracts that would have allowed them to do that, because there was
it happens all the time.
No, there was an express provision inside the contract that would have allowed him to pull it. Then we're talking something different. You said the contract is valid.
Well, this contract has been valid. It's been valid all this time.
All I'm saying is
nobody's saying the contract wasn't valid. What we're saying is that the environment, the circumstances have changed, and therefore the conditions and the terms of the contract need to be changed.
All I'm saying is this all stems from the Don't Say Gay bill.
It does.
Which doesn't say.
Oh yeah, of course.
That's all.
Well, that was what lit the whole match.
This is Disney's defense to the Don't Say Gay.
And that was what lit the whole match.
So all this Ready Creek, and all that.
Oh no, absolutely no. I'm not disagreeing with that. It's
correct.
That was the
10 of the Florida Constitution.
That was what lit the match for DeSantis.
So
but again, it's like, okay, you want to play real politics? Okay, let's take a look at that Reedy Creek contract.
That's
you know what I mean?
Right.
And so if they succeed in this court saying that he went after them politically, blah blah blah. Hey, if they win that, because I think there's a case to be made there.
It'd been different if this had been Goofy Scott or even Charlie Crist or any other. He picked this matcher up by himself.
Okay, so
that's all.
But what my point was is that in the greater scheme of things, if he makes it, let's say deep into the primary, if he makes it past the primary in the general, especially, who is him fighting a major multinational corporation to take more of their money going to appeal to? Independents and Democrats. Because who's the boogeyman when it comes to left-leaning independents and Democrats? Big corporation, big business, right? Taking more of that money and putting it into the state's resources.
But what Johnny has said from the beginning of this conversation is that he needs to win the argument. If he does not win in the courts and everything else, then this would have been a complete waste of time, and it's going to be more of an issue when it comes to his attempt to run for president.
He didn't win. He didn't win against Andrew Warren. It's just the federal courts had no authority to reinstate him.
But we're not talking about that right now. We're talking.
That's
about,
a whole different.
That's a different.
No. But my point is. This is what my point is. He takes on fights that he's probably going to lose politically. I think your bigger issue is what you're going to do about the Trump factor. You're trying to make it seem like everybody here is going to go over there. I don't think that Ron DeSantis sells well on the public stage nationally. I don't think he interviews well. He's quirky. I don't even know if he's that. How tall is he?
He was. Look, I didn't think he was. I didn't. Again, he almost lost. Let's remember that he almost lost
to a bad candidate.
No, he wasn't a bad candidate. He just had a lot of stuff in his closet that nobody knew about.
Andrew Gillum
was actually a decent candidate.
He was a decent candidate, honest to God.
On paper, he was a very good candidate.
Some of us knew. But I guarantee you, he would have had a hard time against Alex Sink.
And if you spent any time in Tallahassee, you knew apparently.
Everyone knew in Tallahassee for some odd reason.
Yeah. Alex Sink could have beaten him. There were Charlie Crist probably would have.
But she didn't. Didn't she run?
She ran against Rick Scott.
No.
But my point is, he's just not a good candidate. He's not a good candidate. I think.
Trump but what also is a big plus in his back pocket is his wife. His wife adds. No, she's not.
No, wait a minute.
No, she's not. People are talking about her like she's the next Jackie Kennedy.
She's not hated.
No, she's cute. But no, that's
whose
not.
wife?
DeSantis' wife.
No.
Who hates DeSantis' wife?
No, I've heard.
That's the first I've heard of that.
No, listen, I've read, and I was like, well, dog, she seems like she's a pleasant person. I was reading somewhere.
Oh, like internally, yeah, there may be people that, but again, you're talking about a beauty queen. You know what I mean?
She's very attractive.
That also, again, has been really a very strong weapon for him in terms of communications and community involvement. Don's got to leave us because he's got an appointment. that I hope we don't make you late for. But Donn, thank you so much, man, for being on the show.
Oh, thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
We won't make it so awkward. We'll
do some editing.
Look, I would love to come back and do this again.
Absolutely. Yeah. So
thank you for having me.
All right.
I gotta run.
Well, and we'll also make sure to keep plugging the Freedom of Speech Forum.
Yes,
so
please do.
yeah. So all right.
5'9".
He's 5'9".
He's not tall enough to become president.
That's not a good look.
No.
Is he 5'9"?
He's 5'9".
I thought he was like a 5'11". I said, well, maybe I'm just looking at him differently.
Have you seen those boots?
That's not good. I mean, he's not. I mean, he's my height. It's just not a good look.
Yeah, just pop. Yeah, you got to. It's at the top. Just pull a little hard on it.
No. Just literally. Yep.
There
we go.
See, so now we've added something that we didn't bring up before. 5'9" is not. And let me tell you what. I'm going to tell you why it's not going to be a good look, because if he stands on a debate stage, and because he's not a woman, it's very glaring, and people want to believe that they're one thing that helped Donald Trump is people forget he's actually taller than Barack Obama.
Yeah, very tall,
and that's a look of power. Even though
statistically, I mean, scientifically, it's been proven that people assume a lot of things just because you're tall.
Are you sure you're not just jiving?
No. I was looking through Wikipedia. I looked through.
Well, I mean, if you remember when we met him out at the tarmac, you know what I mean? Like
we met him.
He's literally standing right behind us, and
he's not. He's shorter than
he
me.
like leaned over a little bit just to make sure he was in the picture. But
He's shorter than me, and I'm 6 foot.
So.
Yeah, we got a problem. Y'all got another problem. Yeah.
All right, let's.
y'all ain't gonna win this one, bro.
All right, let's go ahead and reset the show here. My apologies to Greg for putting the graphic over the face there, but man, I don't think we're gonna get to any of this stuff. But yeah, I don't even want to look at our runtime. Thank you everybody for watching the Yard Sign. We of course are relaunching after some time being away, but we're back refreshed, fired up, if you haven't noticed, and got plenty to talk about.
Jimmy Carter.
We've got a lot we wanted to cover, so we'll try to make it through these.
We're gonna have a lot of edits. We're gonna have a lot of. Not
wrong
live.
button. There we go.
Greg's fault.
We're gonna have a lot of edits.
Yeah,
it's fine.
All right, so. Real quick on man, I mean, yeah, like that last.
The moment we touched
everything
that
out of me.
third rail, it was like I just stopped talking. I
know
there was nothing for me to say.
But so on the Ukraine front, apparently we just gave the Ukraine another $300 million. Right after allegedly they attacked the Kremlin with drones.
On May,
you think it's a false flag?
May 3rd, 2023 at 8:18 a.m., there was a unconfirmed attack on the Kremlin.
Didn't look like 8:18 a.m. No, just I've seen the video footage. It looks like it's like the middle of the night.
Where's Moscow?
On the other side of the world.
How high on the world?
Oh, I don't know.
Very high, correct? So
Okay.
farther away from the equator, which means that their sunset and sunrise are at different times than ours.
Well, thanks for the science lesson.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
It's geography, too. Really geography, but go ahead.
So the claim of a Ukrainian drone attack on the Kremlin has been something that's been very much on the top of everyone's conversations. To the point to now, people are saying that it's considered a false flag situation, that Russia was trying to figure out a way to get more conscripts into becoming soldiers for them to have more people in there. So U.S. intelligence, intel agencies do not know who is behind the Kremlin attack, but know it is probably not Ukraine.
First of all, technology was more sophisticated when I was in the military.
You saw that? I was like,
And
what is this?
When you think about, in the Kremlin, much like the White House, has
Yes.
defense mechanisms that you don't even see.
Correct.
Yeah.
And sometimes you just have to step back and everything. Sometimes things aren't conspiracy theories. Sometimes things just are what they are. All right. And at least let us live in the world of reality. Now, I'm going to say this to people, and it may upset people. This is not just a costume like somebody's crown. It's not just a costume. I wore it. I joined proudly, and I have no regrets. When people start talking about why are we giving money to Ukraine, why are we giving resources, I don't think people who are United States citizens understand, especially if you never put on a uniform, how the rest of the world views the United States, because you're not the United States is not very big in the grand scheme of things. Yeah, you're not very populated.
But isn't one of the common criticisms that we interject ourselves in everyone's politics?
So that's not where he's going.
Or everyone's
continue the line that you're going, because I know where you're going.
Because what you can give resources in many ways. And you just spoke to pulling us out of unnecessary wars that another Republican got us into. But the reality of it is, if you don't send money, there is something else you can send. Just like for everybody who has an issue with the border dilemma, I have a solution. You can, everybody who's never served, who's under 40, you can go do 2 years. You can go do 4 years of duty on the border as a federal employee. Well, no different than a soldier. Get the same benefits as a veteran.
An MP.
No.
Well, that's what a lot of countries do. I mean, you have to sign up for civil service, and you're either police or military police, or something.
Well, when I did Reforge, and actually not just Reforge. There's other military exercises, but yes, this is the only country that when people have a lot to say, you don't have an obligation to your country. You don't have to vote. You don't have to drive. You don't do a lot of things. Now, you are subject to the rules here, but the reality is, for everybody who has an issue with every dime or dollar that goes to Ukraine, go join the military.
I have no issue with any amount of money that we're giving to Ukraine right now.
I get it. I get money because Anibel's made the same. Anibel's made the same point, which it means that we're not actually sending any bodies over there. But at this point, it's my opinion that both sides want us involved. I think it is Zelensky's goal. I think it is Zelensky's goal, and I think it's Putin's goal to get the United States involved because it benefits them both equally.
The reason why Putin picked Ukraine over Poland is because he did not want the United States to get involved in the situation.
Absolutely.
This is the reason why that choice was made. Finland would probably be a better choice for Putin to have attacked more than Ukraine now that we're in the middle of it. I will say this in regards to
proximity would have made it difficult for Finland.
I will say this, and I agree with your position. I would rather us spend the money than spill the blood of American citizens. That's my opinion. We are moving more into a 1970s, 1960s kind of world mentality where geopolitical politics are becoming much more up front and center, and that's where we're moving. And I don't have an issue spending the money to make sure that the Russians get their teeth kicked in.
And much more dynamic as well. And by the way, for anybody who's seeing me on this Instagram Live, I'm now on the yard sign, so don't be alarmed when you see you see me in a different capacity than normal. But this is our. Go ahead and give them, because I hope they can hear you on this thing here.
I think they should be able to. His mics are usually pretty good. But we're on the Yard Sign, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. Look it up. It's the Yard Sign, at the Yard Sign. If you want to look us up by our handle, you can see all our previous episodes. But we're about a 3-4 year running political podcast based in Tampa, and glad to have Greg on our show today.
As the guy in the middle.
That's right. Well, and again, so at some point you got to draw the line and be like, enough's enough.
Who's going to make that money? Who's going to make that? I'm sorry, we were in a war for over almost 2 decades,
and you were crying.
We've already spent more money in Ukraine than we did in most of those conflicts.
But those are two separate issues.
Yeah, not
two separate issues,
and two different reasons why we got in.
I understand, but again, like if you're looking
and now.
If you're looking at this and you realize that these two are fighting, but both of their end goal is to get us in the fight. I mean, again, at what point do you say, all right, enough's enough?
But like to point out, I have a inquiry. At one point, do you say, why are you assuming the Russians want us to get involved?
Because then they can actually reveal their not so secret alliance with China. China obviously is already making major moves to be the predominant superpower. I mean, they're aligning with I think Brazil. And there's like a half a dozen countries that they've now formed an alliance with.
It's called the BRICS, that have absolutely no way of producing their own way out of anything. A part of that alliance is also Argentina with 104% inflation rates. I think this is the biggest red herring on earth when it comes to people assuming just because the BRIC countries, which this is now the fourth time they've said something like this in the last 20 years, that this is actually going to work. It will not work. China is completely indebted.
But Putin just wants an excuse to be able to ask China for the resources.
China has already said
for their military resources.
China has literally voted, I think 2 or 3 days ago, in the Security Council to say no. We are condemning what you're doing in Ukraine. India voted against Russia. Russia does not have as many allies.
Right. China's claiming that they're going to be the peace broker in all this.
But they can try because for the last 2 years they've been doing nothing but causing
chaos everywhere else around the world.
Exactly.
I don't think that China's interests are the same as Russia's by far. The only thing they have in common is their mutual enemy. Mm-hmm. But as far as resources and the ability to tactfully or tactically carry out their agenda, what has been exposed about Russia is that their combat readiness. I don't, because it's not guerrilla warfare, because they're familiar with the terrain, because it's all former Soviet Union territory. They're not as equipped as we all thought.
Correct. No. Right.
And you're not talking about some of the debacles that the United States had when we had our conflicts, or whatever you want to call it, our situations with Afghanistan, Iraq, and other places. You're not even talking about having to travel that far to who you're fighting, and you're ineffective.
Right.
They're
a shadow. They're a shadow of their former self.
It's like us having our teeth kicked in by a small village in Mexico that we can't even get. That we can't even get our supply chains in order. And if you can't even get that basicness down,
I mean, would you say it's kind of like their Vietnam at this point?
No, not even.
Nah.
I mean, obviously not geographically, but I mean, the fact that you've got a superpower, you got a military superpower going into a lesser country.
You had an assumed
they're not a superpower.
No, I'm saying we were in Vietnam. We were the superpower going into.
But you were fighting guerrilla warfare.
That's a different.
No, but you're fighting guerrilla warfare. You left your terrain.
Yeah.
Russia technically has not left their terrain.
Correct.
It would be like us having a problem with Texas.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And actually, a place smaller than Texas and losing.
Yeah.
And so I think what's going to happen now is I wouldn't be surprised if we're going to continue. There's now a counter-offensive happening in the southern parts of Donbass and some of the other parts of the southern parts of it, and where Crimea might even be in play right now, which is insane if they're able to take out that part, which will cause even more problems with Putin and with the Russian
the oligarchy?
Yeah, because now you're in a situation where what does Putin do when he's in a situation where he's losing so much territory?
I'm beginning to wonder what the oligarchy's
the Wagners. Let's have a conversation about the Wagners.
What's the oligarchy's real feelings about this? Because now you're costing us money. There's always going to be ego involved with the war. Mm-hmm. And you also have people in your country who are losing people in your country.
Oh, the oligarchy is extremely pissed because, I mean, at a global scale, a lot of their accounts have been frozen, their assets have been seized. I mean, they're not on board with this at all.
Just on Sunday, there was
a bullet is 25 cents.
However, the problem with that is,
that's part of the
thing that's going to happen.
That justifies the false flag in all of this. I mean, the fact that they're trying to make it personal, right? They're trying to say, look, we're under like a serious threat here. But again, like you watch the video, and it looks like
it's 25 cents.
It looks like the
problem go away.
Well, this is the larger conversation.
Not from the United States perspective.
Correct.
From the oligarchy
if what happened is not a false flag situation, that means the Kremlin, which should be one of the most defensive positions when it comes to air superiority.
The fact that they got that close
is absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah. First of all, it got that close because it came from inside.
But that's what I'm saying. If it was not a red flag situation, then this is absolutely ridiculous.
Well, and it looked like a drone that you could buy at Costco, like the one I have at home.
If it is a red flag,
I didn't hear that.
It looks like one of those little. It does. It looks like one of those little drones that you can buy at Costco.
It looks bad on both sides,
and all of a sudden it's flying, and it looks like it's going to hit the flag of all things.
It's the Russian government looks so inept.
Yeah,
if they're going to say that the Ukrainians did this, you're telling me the Ukrainians got all the way into the motherland to be able to do something like that
with a toy,
which is crazy. And again,
that was my point. It was that this drone looked like a toy. It didn't look like a military grade.
Also, which means if the toy could get that close without you detecting it, what if you actually had
real assets?
Yeah. And what would that have kicked off?
I think a fall of Russia when it comes to the assassination of Vladimir Putin.
Oh, the views and opinions do not necessarily reflect those of the Greg Dawes Show, which you all can tune into because we're on my live tonight at 8 o'clock.
If there is a situation where there is no longer a current head of Russia, I think that causes a lot more conflict. Because again, at the moment, in any dictatorship, is it worth more for the person to be in power?
He's technically not a dictator, but I do follow what you're saying. But it won't take a coup. It would not take a coup to get rid of him. It would not take a coup to get rid of him. It would just take somebody's decision to have him either step down or remove him.
Is still a part of it. Here in the United States, you have multiple people constantly coming up and pushing back. Russia doesn't have that. China doesn't have that.
No, they don't have that openly.
I don't think they have it at all.
I think you're very wrong.
I think Vladimir Putin has taken many, many years getting rid of many, many people. And now you have a situation where the people around him, which is a very small organization now, that actually get to him are causing even more problems. And they are thinking, is it better for me and my family that he stays in power, or better for me and my family if he leaves power?
Who is it? But there are meetings that aren't meetings.
Correct.
And I believe that as this extends, and I don't even know what their true feeling is about some of these frozen accounts, but in the long term, how long are we going to allow you to make us look bad? Because now this thing that should have been really simple has become so much more complex. This is kind of like this looks worse than it did when they went into Afghanistan.
Mm. Yeah,
and at least in Afghanistan, there was actually a line of delineation with the fighting factions. And for those who don't know, that's when the Taliban was actually an ally of the United States.
And Quasi has returned to that position.
Right. So now but different show. But back to Ukraine. This doesn't look good. This doesn't even look good on the national stage. Correct. In fact, why do I need to ally with you when you can't beat them? Mm-hmm. You can't beat Texas.
And now you're pissing off the Wagner group. Like there's too many things happening that if it does start to deravel, it'll go very quickly. It will be no one will know. And you're right, 25 cents would have been spent.
All right, Greg. Before we try to very quickly touch on the last few topics, actually, as you were just saying. You have a Blog Talk Radio show. You'll be on at 8 o'clock tonight, yes. Which, depending on when you're catching the show, may be like right about now because we're going to start this show at 7 o'clock.
Okay,
and so that'll make it 8 o'clock, and give people maybe just a brief idea of some of the stuff you're going to touch on because it's not political.
No, not as political, but I'll be talking tonight about. I'm going to show. My Zoom link, I'll share my screen for those who have issues with child support, and there's a myriad of issues, family law, and actually they can go back to one of your produced shows, The Chop Shop, and you can hear from gentlemen who've been successful. I'm actually looking at you like I got the camera over there. You can actually join, and you can see where we've had guys come through GD NAPSI and have had a lot of success as far as gaining time sharing. We don't call it custody in Florida. Custody is a different issue. We can go into that, but I'll talk about child support. I'll show you what happened when I took my child support case to the federal court so that it can narrow your scope when you decide that you may want to go against the Department of Revenue. I also have an oral argument scheduled for the 9th, my first oral argument in front of the 2nd District Court of Appeals 3-judge panel.
Wow.
But you can check us out on Blog Talk Radio at blogtalkradio.com/Greg Dawes. And you can find me on YouTube at Greg Dawes, GDNAPSC. And on TikTok, the same place. And, of course, Instagram and Twitter at GDNAPSC. But if you want to see receipts, you want to see court dockets, things that I don't make up, you can always come there and we'll show you what's going on.
All right, check it out. Again, really interesting stuff going on. And, again, I mean, there's not a lot of people that I know you tend to underplay kind of what you do, not only for yourself but for others. But there's not a lot of people that can do what you do. And I know you've taught others and empowered others to do it. But to take on the local government the way that you do, again, is very respectable. It's something that's to be commended.
It's such a mischaracterization, and I got Neil over there laughing. Listen, what I do is I don't take on the government. What I do is I enforce my rights. Well, what I do is it's the stewards of government who choose not to follow the laws, the prescribes that are already in place for this legislation, constitution or otherwise. I don't make up any of the rules. I don't make up any of the laws. I just say I'm going to hold you to them the same way that when I took my oath to take a bullet for this country, I expect those who take an oath in the state of Florida under Florida Statute 876, subsection 5, and or Article 2 of the Florida Constitution.
Hey, you hold our government and elected officials accountable.
Which is what I expect everybody to do. Hold the people who work for you. And interesting on Article 1, Section 1, it states what? All political powers inherent in the people, and the enunciation herein should not be construed to deny or impair those other rights retained by the people. So keep that in mind, people. This is your government.
Yep.
So they work for me, and I tell them that.
Very true. Very true.
Had to remember where I was.
All right, we're going to pass on the book ban topic for today just because that's a whole, we could go for probably another hour on that.
At least.
Going to toss it over.
Mr. 5'9", Ron.
to Mr. Anibal David Cabrera to try to explain to us why we should care about the royal coronation.
This is not going to go well, people.
Hello, citizens of the world. In 2 days, we will have the coronation of King Charles as the new supreme leader. Is that the title? I don't even know the title.
The what leader?
Supreme leader.
It's a joke on the Iranians. Anyways,
okay.
I have to preference it all the time. There are a lot of fans and excited to see the coronation. It is dubbed to be one of the biggest events of the world for 2023. The last time there was a coronation and it was televised, it was one of the biggest ones. The last time there was weddings, there was one of the biggest ones. So
I was say the last time it was coronation, was there TV? I don't think there was
TV. If you would have watched the documentary that I sent you, so so it's going to be a really big cultural event. I'm really excited to see how Meghan Markle is going to parachute her way into that scene. I know, that's why I said parachute. Come on,
Anglo-cultural
event. People. So we're pretty excited for it, and we'll see what happens there. In other news, the U.S. version of our Hunger Games, the Met Gala, was on Monday, May 1st. And it's something that was also very culturally relevant in regards to those things.
How?
We got Doja Cat dressed up as a cat. It was quite interesting.
I was wondering who that was. I couldn't.
Well,
of course, if she were to walk in here right now, I had no idea because I have no idea what Doja Cat looks like.
So the Met Gala's theme this year was Karl Lagerfeld, who passed away a few years ago, and the main points for his was a lot of flowers when he was in Chanel and some of the other lines, but cats were a big thing for him. He had a very famous cat. So a few, the Joker dressed up as
Jared Leto,
literally as cosplay.
Morbius. Cat. That was Morbius,
yes,
not the Joker.
It was
wow.
No, he was also the Joker.
No.
Yes, he was.
No, he wasn't.
Yes, he was.
No, you're thinking Joaquin Phoenix.
I'm thinking. First of all, there have been multiple Jokers.
Jared Leto has never played the Joker.
Anybody out there that's listening to my watching my live, I apologize.
I'm sure
if you have the answer, please give it to these guys.
I'm sure your Instagram live has no idea. Like, what is going on? Where are you?
They're probably more surprised to see me.
Like if you're
in this capacity,
if you're being held hostage, blink twice.
Well, for those who've been following me for a while, they remember that DJ Squid and my buddy Sean 2B McDowell.
Yeah.
Did
Jonathan?
My passion took me out of relationship talk
on what? Oh, on Suicide Squad. That's right. That's right.
Oh, the
back to my cultural relevance.
No, it wasn't a cartoon. It was live action. It was the one with Will Smith. It was Will Smith and Margot Robbie.
Oh,
Jared Leto.
He was there in both of them because there was a cartoon version of it as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Again, so I think this went down quick.
Corrected.
Yeah.
All right, go.
So we're excited to see the coronation. We wish all health for the royal family as they go through this process right now and see what happens going forward. I'm excited.
So Camilla's what? Queen?
No.
Queen consort.
Queen. Oh, this is Queen consort. I thought they weren't gonna.
She can never be. She's not even supposed to be that.
What happened?
She can't be that.
See, even he says that doesn't know anything about royal family.
No, I never said I didn't know. I said I didn't care.
First of all, you know enough.
Yeah, I went to school.
I don't even know what a queen consort is.
When did you go to school where that was an issue of queen consort?
No, not having general consort, having general knowledge of how how the monarchy worked.
So again, the only reason why allegedly she was not
never
supposed to
taught
be
to
like
us.
that was because the
I'm
queen
not going to y'all
requested
blame
that to
public
happen.
education for your lack of desire to be involved in anything known to man.
What teacher in high school, middle school, elementary talked to you about the regulations of the British royal family?
Want to know?
Were you taught in public school about the royal family's ins and outs of their etiquette when it came to ascensions of the throne?
I was inspired to go look it up.
Oh, okay. Well,
that's a whole different thing.
Didn't mean I cared.
So what you're saying is you were watching Diana's wedding. That's what it was.
That's what it was.
That's what it was.
No, not at all. When did they get married?
In the 80s.
I don't think we were born.
Wow.
Who was?
That was like 85, 80.
We weren't born.
You weren't born,
I joined
maybe.
the army in '85, so but no,
It was 1 when you joined the army.
That was not nice.
Well, no, hey, listen, I wear my grays intentionally. You don't see me wearing any dyes. I wear it proudly. 55.
Yeah.
Enjoy it every. No, I don't say every minute of it, but hey, better to be the same height as dumb DeSantis above ground and 36 inches under.
Honestly, I have the whole thing ready for us to have this conversation.
Shots fired
off camera in regards to the heightness of the presidency.
Dude, so y'all gonna hey everybody. I want y'all to elect a 5'9" president the way we elected a 5'9" governor. You got to be kidding me, bro.
How tall was Kennedy?
Kennedy's within the top
6'2".
Really?
Yeah.
I always thought he was short.
Who, John? No, he had a bad bag.
Oh.
So Kennedy is within the same range of Reagan. Kennedy and Reagan were the same height at 6'1".
Really?
Yes.
See, maybe it's because he was so thin. I always thought he was shorter.
No, actually, people think Barack Obama is taller than he was. I think he's like 6'1", 6'2".
He's not top 10.
But he does, but Barack looks tall. I mean,
he has good posture.
He's
slim.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Obama is ranked 9th tallest president ever at a 6'1.5".
I think Joe Biden is like 6'1", right?
Joe Biden is 6 foot.
6 foot even? Okay.
Yeah, he's number 14.
But see, that plays to DeSantis' favor.
But guess who is
he
number
won't
3?
He won't look that short.
Number 45.
Standing next to him.
Yeah, he's 6'3". Yeah.
Who was the tallest president ever?
Lincoln?
Yep, 6'4".
Nice. All right. Well, on that note, thank you everybody for watching the Yard Sign. Special
Hey,
thanks.
I hope I haven't shocked anybody who watches me on.
Oh my God! We're trying to close this. Can you not?
I'm telling everybody here.
Talk on yours right now. We're gonna wait for
I'm not
apologizing
keeping
for it,
I'm not
Greg.
keeping you off.
He's about to wrap it up.
Oh, my bag. Hey, and by the way, Johnny, anybody who needs any kind of video entertainment or
Podcast production.
Look at that plug.
You revealing my OnlyFans account? What are we doing here?
55 or 62? How old are you really?
What was it? What did you tell him? Plug it.
Podcast production. Podcast production. Now we're getting into building radio stations, which I'm excited about.
that.
I know. We'll talk about more about that when we get closer to the release date. But we're building out a radio station. It's going to be based here out of Tampa. We're bringing back old school R&B and hip hop.
Well, we lost the fleet. Well,
no, it's
as the first time back in a very long time, this was a colossal mess.
but hasn't it always been?
It's always been a colossal mess.
All right. On that note, thank you everybody for watching tonight's show. And again, we're excited and happy to be back, fired up to be back. I know this guy next to me will be back, and also thanks to Donn Scott from All City Solutions for being on the show. He'll definitely be back as well. Who knows? Maybe we'll just make this like
I hate this.
The crew of the show.
Absolutely hate this.
What?
I don't like this. Look, go to my camera.
Oh, you're talking about the
Go to my
structure.
camera. I have. It's a horrible.
I thought you were talking about the
angle of me.
show.
I don't like this angle, and I don't like these headsets.
How about this one?
There's a lot of.
That's a good
I
angle.
don't like this even better.
Why not?
I'm not happy. Look at. I have to like turn. I
No,
need
you
to find my
don't.
good
What?
angle.
Oh
I need to
my
find my
God.
good angle again.
All right.
We
Anyways.
need a producer. If you would like to donate your time and efforts,
So
then Johnny
miss our producer.
So then Johnny doesn't have to do this. Please, Lindsay, come back.
I know, yeah.
Lindsay, come back.
Lindsay, come back. Any kind of fool could see. All right, on that note, they didn't even.
Leo Sayer.
I want to get it. Hold on.
We're not doing this.
There we go. I wanted to get Greg just shaking his head over here.
Leo Sayer, right?
Greg,
Maybe come back.
Greg,
right?
we agree on foreign policy. I did not think this was going to happen.
We'll celebrate after the show.
You fake
All right.
I appreciate the value of life.
Good night, everybody. Go see Greg on Blog Talk Radio. And
check me out. Be very entertaining for
we'll
you.
catch you next week.